Hey everyone, Matt Bisarcik from RazorEmporium.com. Today, coming at you with a video we've been meaning to make for years, and I'm so excited to finally be doing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All about straight razors, strops, strop care, strop paste, strop balms, all things strop care, straight razor edge care. It's so much, I have to put it all in a jumbled sentence together for you guys, but seriously, we've been selling and making strops and selling and taking care of straight razors for over 10 years now. And I have been asked so many times in emails and YouTube comments, you know, how do I get the most out of my straight razor edge? How do I prolong the length of time in between honings? How do I use strop paste? What strop paste to use? And today's video, we're going to try to cover a lot of these. So let's get going. If you didn't already know, stropping is a necessary part of owning any straight razor. So you cannot have a straight razor and use it more than once or twice without having to strop it. And if you haven't already done so, check out our other video we did a couple years ago all about kind of the concepts of stropping. But in very quick summation, imagine the edge of your straight razor being a very fine edge, kind of like this very fine piece of paper, and you want it to be nice and clean as it cuts you, but even just in the course of hitting your hair, it gets kind of all bent up and mangled around, and the strop's job is to actually snap it back into alignment. So that's what the job of the strop is. Now, traditionally, strops have different mediums. Usually leather and canvas are the most common. I've heard people using denim and balsa wood and other things, but or the top of a Bible or a dictionary or something. But we're going to focus on a product that we make and we recommend for most traditional usage is leather and canvas strop. So we have several that we make different varieties. I want to first kind of cover the fact that the leather side, people always ask me, Matt, what do I need to do to take care of my leather strop? And I will tell you that we make three, at the moment, as of this shooting of this video, there's three major leathers we deal with. That's Latigo, it's kind of a burgundy color. We have the English Bridle, which is more of a black. And we have the natural horsehide, which is kind of a tan, light brown. Now, the first two, the Latigo and the English Bridle, are both vegetable tan leather. They're both cowhides. And there is already a lot of tanning oils and waxes put into this leather. So in terms of conditioning it, it's ready to go right off the bat. I always recommend to anyone with a strop to always warm it up and always keep it supple by just using your hand. So you don't need to buy another product for it if you buy it, fresh off the shelf. For the leather side, you just warm it up, use the oils in your hands, and that's going to keep that leather nice and supple. Now, if you do leave these strops, let's say for a year without using them, or they maybe were damaged, or maybe live in a really dry climate, you may need to start getting into some different strop conditioners for the leather side. So I'll talk about those real briefly. We carry one from Dovo, and we have another one from Herald, and these are both relatively the same product. One's just in a tube, one is in a tub, and if you look at them, they're kind of like a petroleum jelly, and that's really what they are. They're kind of a real light oil kind of jelly, and it's meant to, add some moisture and moisturize and oil up your leather. Other products you could use would be like a mince oil or a neat's foot oil, kind of the same products you'd use like on a baseball glove. The really, really important thing to remember is that you're going to want to apply it with your hand. I know it sounds weird, but just put a little bit on your hand, almost like it's lotion, and just really rub it in a lot, 25, 50 times. It's probably not going to be an overdoing it kind of a thing. But then the really important next critical step is to make sure you kind of buff off the remainder with a lint-free cotton towel, and that you let it sit for at least a day or two before you want to use it, so you don't just take off the excess. If you put it right on and go to strop, you're just going to scrape it all off with your straight razor, so don't do that. Now, I talked about the first two. Let's talk about number three. When you get a natural horsehide, this doesn't have as many of the tanning oils and of the waxes and stuff, and that's why it feels a lot drier to begin with. It also feels a lot more supple, and yeah, there's actually a very slight kind of nap to it, which is kind of little tiny microfibers to it. In my opinion, and the opinion of other guys who've done a lot of straight razor, stropping and shaving, this is something you really should leave alone. Again, your hand oil is more than enough to keep it supple and to warm it up, so to speak. If it was sitting, again, for a year or so and it started getting really dried out, or let's just say you're using it all the time because you're a straight razor master and it's just your go-to and you're shaving every single day, again, you may need to apply an oil or a conditioner, and the same procedure as with the other two. I would just always be careful with natural leather because the moment you put that on, it's going to be a different color. So don't be alarmed, but that's why I don't recommend it right off the bat. You're going to darken it. It's going to look, you know, not this nice shade of light tan. It's going to be more of a medium brown now. So don't do it unless you really need it. Maybe once a year, once every 2 years, or if you're just using it all the time. Like our guy in our workshop, Eric, does a ton of stropping. He's, you know, stropping, you know, 15 or 20 razors a day, keeping up with all of our service work. So he is, you know, conditioning it more than, let's say, your average person at home in the bathroom. So that is all the leather side. I wanted to kind of get that out of the way because the next topic is really what I was excited to talk about, is going to be the back side. So our 3-inch strops include a piece of natural cotton canvas, and this is a beautiful piece of webbing, cotton webbing, that is a perfect medium, as I always say, as your step 1. Your step 2 is your leather side, but this can also serve a couple other really, really important purposes, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So I would always recommend keeping at least part of this clean and natural and free of any other compounds or pastes. So you can even just keep half of it clean, and you can always put compounds on the other half, or if you want, you can use the back side for different compounds. You know, and you just have to kind of hold it a little bit more funky, or you know, mount it and make sure you have a good amount of tension on it still. It's not going to be the most convenient thing to get to, and you have obviously your other piece of leather that can flop over, but it's the same side. You can use that. With your leather, I would not really recommend using this other side of leather. People ask me that all the time, can I use this side of leather? I would stick away from not doing that. It's not finished, it's not flat, you can actually damage your edge, so don't use this, but the canvas can be used on either side. Or we're excited to kind of talk about today a new product that we're going to be having, which is going to be just a piece of canvas only. And that is something that is going to be able to aid you in applying some other products, and you can have this in your bathroom as well, ready to go. So we're going to talk about that now. A common question we get is, what is the deal with strop pastes? You know, there's this red paste, black paste, you know, green, diamond oxide, all these different microns. It's so much information, it's confusing. Let's try to dive into it some right now. The green is going to be kind of a real coarse, real abrasive, and we don't actually even sell it because it can damage your edge if you don't know what you're doing, and it's really not for maintenance. It's more of in the honing process. You could kind of substitute that or use that as part of your honing process. For the people at home, I really want to focus today on the red and the black paste. Again, this is a product we sell, and you probably see around other places, is the little Herald strop paste. It's also available in a tube, the red only at least is available in a tube. And this is what they kind of look like if you open them up. These little tiny red and black containers. If you open them up, they look like big wax crayons. And that's really what they are. It's basically iron oxide and emery, and it's suspended into a animal fat, animal wax, basically. And it's sticky and it's dirty, and I have a little towel under here, under the camera, and I'm wiping it off because even just touching it is going to be kind of a dirty process. I want you to be aware of that. Don't be wearing your nice, clean white dress shirt when you're going to do this. But in terms of the job that these guys do, your red is equivalent of 3 to 4 micron, and that is, in terms of knowing, it's kind of like a 5 to 8,000 grit stone. Your black is more like a 1 to 2 micron. I just dropped it. And that's a 1 to 2 micron for this, and it is more like a 9 to maybe even 14,000 stone. So it's definitely kind of more of the fine. So you want to always go red than black. You can also kind of do a combination there, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I want to first talk about application. So my favorite way to apply this is to kind of unwrap it and hold it by the wrapper, so you try to minimize how much you get on your fingers. And you know, this is an undoable operation. Once you do this, it's always going to be there, which is again why I said try to make sure you plan on having a section of cotton canvas that's not been pasted up. So I'm going to put my red first. I'm just going to put it right here in the middle. I'm not going to put much at all. One of the common mistakes people do is putting way too much. I'm just very lightly going over it. I'm trying to make it as even as possible across the whole 3-inch, entire 3-inch width here. And you can see it didn't really use much at all, so I could probably coat a bunch of strops or reapply it for probably years to come, that little tiny amount. At this point, I would probably want to rub it in and really try to make sure I even this out as much as possible, homogenize it, so to speak. And yes, I have some of my fingers I'm gonna wipe. And I probably could have done that 25 or 30 more times, but for the sake of the video, I'm gonna get rolling here. And so we're gonna do some X patterns on this. I could do the entire strap, you know, I could do just sections like this. You know, potentially on this one section, I could put black as well, and I could even have a little tiny part down here that's just left natural. So it really is kind of what you wanna do. I always tell people, remember, it's not about the length; it's about the the quality of your strokes, not just how long of the stroke. It's a quality stroke. So, if you didn't already know, you want to hold your straight razor kind of in between your fingers, have the scale 180 degrees wide open, and always have your edge trailing. You're leading first with the spine. You're not leading with the edge. So we're going to show you that real quick. And I'm still, even though I have a 3-inch width here, guys, I'm still going to do an X pattern. And the reason for that is, again, I want to homogenize my results. I want to make sure that the edge is going across all of this paste. And there are parts that are a little bit more thick than other parts. And that wasn't intentionally. That's just part of trying to do something even and try to make it all look the same. So we want to make sure it's nice and kind of spread out even, and just try to maintain these X strokes. And again, I'm putting moderate pressure. The strop is fairly taut. I don't want to have a loosey-goose strop. You actually will do more damage to your edge that way. And in terms of how many strokes, I wish I could tell you that there's a certain magical number here to do, but that's not how straight razor anything goes. Kind of not just with stropping, but with honing, with shaving. It's going to have to be trial and error, and you're going to have to keep at it, and you're going to have to practice and have to try different times. Maybe try 25 and see how it feels, and then go back, maybe do another 25 and see how it feels again. You can also go back and forth between the two different colors. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to apply some of the black, and again, I'm going to kind of just try to hold this by the wrapper to minimize how much gets all over the place. Again, we're just going to try to apply this as evenly as possible, not too much. I feel like I'm in kindergarten, and I am drawing with a giant black crayon on the wall. It's very therapeutic. It's fun. If you have some kids, get them to help out. So we got a decent amount of black paste there. Again, really try to move it around, rub it in. Work it into the fibers, try to even it out. Decent. And again, we're gonna do our X pattern here. I talked about in our original video years ago, listening. I'm trying to get the same sound from both sides. So I did a decent job at that. But that's another key part, trying to put even amount of pressure, trying to have an even amount of stroke on each side. And again, you can kind of do different pyramids kind of back and forth with, maybe you're going to do 5 or 10 over here, and then you're going to do maybe 3 or 5 over here, and then back and forth. And the reason for that is you're going to get the most out of your different compounds that way. You're going to be able to get the edge to be as refined as possible, kind of getting the best out of each compound. You know, what we're doing, guys, we're removing just a very small amount of metal here. What we're really doing is polishing the edge. The edge, the bevel are already set on stones, and we are trying to polish that edge and that very, very, very fine little thin film of metal that's right here, and just trying to not have it kind of go this way or this way, but really keep it in the middle, try to take away any little burrs. And I think the really important thing to note is that this is not replacing sharpening stones. The job of a strop paste is to extend the life of your edge you already have set on stones. And let's say that you are shaving every day or every couple of days with a straight razor. You may need to have it sharpened 2 or 3 or 4 times a year. It just depends on your beard and everything else. But maybe with this, it cuts the time down in half. So you're not having to either send it out for honing, or you're not having to get the hones out yourself if you do that. So it's not going to replace it. It's just going to extend the time. It's also going to give you the best possible experience. Let's say you did have it really nicely sharpened, you know, and you do this a couple strokes before you go to the clean canvas. You know, that edge is going to feel the best it possibly can every time. You know, the stropping itself doesn't remove any metal. You're just aligning the edge, so to speak. I always use an analogy of kind of bringing the edge nice and clean together. This will do a little bit of removal and always keep it nice and polished and nice and sharp for you guys, nice and keen edge we all want, right? I think I just want to stress one more time that there's not a magical number, there's not a magical pyramid I can tell you of do this many strokes and this many. You need to experiment. It's going to be a process. It's going to be a learning curve, and that's part of straight razor shaving. I always, when anyone ever walks in our store or emails us and says, you know, I want to get into straight razor shaving, I always kind of ask them, are you ready to bite off a big lifestyle choice here, a big chew here that you're going to want to dive down into this world, because it's not a straightforward world. It's not as easy as just changing the blade out in a double-edged razor and starting over. It's more of an art than a science. It's a skill. It is a hobby. It will quickly become. And anyone who's really into straight razor shaving will tell you that they have a bunch of different razors, different strops, and it's a hobby of theirs, a pastime, a passion. I think you need to have that mentality. So that is all I got. I hope today's video has been one that we've been meaning to do, and one that's going to be referenced a lot and used a lot by you guys out there. If there's a question, please let me know in the comments below. I did talk about, you know, diamond paste. Maybe we'll have to make a video just on that. That's another method of again keeping the edge nice and sharp in between honings. Again, it won't you know, take away sharpening on a stone at all. So any other questions, let me know. I am not necessarily the biggest straight razor expert in the world. We do a lot of it in our shop. I've done a lot of straight razor shaving personally, but again, a lot of different people have a lot of different opinions. So I want to know what you guys think. If you do have a comment, if you have a tip, a pointer, something I missed, please let me know in the comments below. And if you do leave a comment, you're entered in to win this, our official Razor Emporium black and blue t-shirt. And that's all I got. Share this video, like it, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time at Razor Emporium for all things vintage shaving. Thanks, guys.